New details are emerging in the murder of Rob and Michele Reiner. Wednesday, the LA County Medical Examiner said they both died from multiple sharp force injuries.
There's going to be a little time needed to be brought up to speed. This is an ongoing investigation that they're still processing things that were gathered at the scene.
And we don't know the circumstances of how he came to be in Exposition Park, which is where he was arrested yesterday, some distance away from the Brentwood residence of Rob and Michele Reiner, where they were allegedly stabbed to death in their bedroom. How Nick Reiner got from their Brentwood home to Exposition Park and at some point made a stop at his hotel in Santa Monica, the Pierside Hotel. We don't know any of those facts yet, and police were not comfortable talking about them yesterday.
Reiners.
They were killed in their Los Angeles County home. The LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced in a press release on Tuesday that 32-year-old Nick Reiner is accused of killing both his parents, fatally stabbing both Rob and his wife, Michele. Rob was 78, Michele Reiner, 70.
This was such a horrible crime scene. This was a knife attack, and the amount of evidence that must be collected is massive.
And have you ever had any cases like this before?
I've had several similar cases in my career where children have murdered their parents by knife. Several of them were when the parents were asleep in their bed.
TMZ continues to learn new information about the deaths of producer-actor Rob Reiner and his wife. All signs pointing to their son, who's now in custody, that he actually checked into a hotel in Santa Monica at 4 o'clock in the morning Sunday.
And it's significant because Nick checks into this hotel in Santa Monica, miles away from where the Reiner home was, and no signs of anything being off at that time at 4 a.m. Pays with his credit card, one night stay. The room service comes in a couple hours later, and there's blood all over the room, everywhere. I mean, shower, bed sheets, everywhere, Lauren. The window had been covered with the sheet. And remember, now that's him checking in at 4 a.m. The timeline now becomes a lot more clear, because before they were found at around 4 p.m., just shy of 4 p.m. So now we know that he has checked in at 4 a.m. and obviously was seemingly, very, very bloodied at that point.
Given the amount of blood that seems to have been transferred to Nick and brought to the hotel room and found in the bathroom, it might suggest there was a struggle between the parents and the son. That will be determined by the medical examiners. The signs should be similar to defensive wounds on the parents' hands, arms, and things of that nature, that they may have put up a struggle.
How was Nick Reiner found, and was there any evidence on him indicating a crime, and did he say anything?
He was found with good, solid police work. I won't go into talking about what was found or anything that could potentially taint the investigation.
Here's a timeline of the alleged double murder. Reiner family attended Conan O'Brien's holiday party, and a source says, quote, he was acting weird and off while there. When the Reiners left and they were standing by the valet stand, Nick, Michele, and Rob were arguing, and everyone saw. Early Sunday morning, Nick checks in here to the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel, acting strangely and erratically. The couple was found by their daughter, Romy. They were reportedly in bed with knife wounds. Just after 3:30 p.m., the fire department was dispatched. Billy Crystal and his wife arrived on the scene very quickly and reportedly saw the bodies. Later Sunday night at 9:14 p.m., Nick is arrested. The LAPD released and later deleted these photos of what appears to be the 32-year-old being taken into custody.
The crime scene will be methodically processed, sketched, photographed, 3D laser scan. There will be bloodstain pattern analysis taken in the crime scene, measurements of the bloodstains, determinations of the types of bloodstains, locations of the bloodstains, mathematical calculations of the bloodstains to determine their three-dimensional points of origin at the time the blood was let from a human body, so that they can piece together movements and interactions between Nick and his parents at the time of the attacks. Blood samples will be taken to determine whose blood is whose from the spatters that are present, just as blood will be taken in the hotel room from the bathroom to determine whose blood it is. Nick should have been examined to see if he has any injuries or wounds to himself associated with the attack of his parents. Nick's clothing should be identified, located if possible, if not destroyed or removed someplace to hide its presence and to check for bloodstain patterns. How did Nick get to the hotel? Did he walk? Did he use a Uber or some kind of car service? If that's the case, then obviously the vehicles should be searched as well. And if he walked there, then the route should be able to be determined by security footage and cell phone pings and things of that nature.
Reiner, just hours after his parents, Michele and Rob Reiner, were found dead in their home. This new video showing his movements inside a convenience store moments before he was arrested. That new video coming in as Nick Reiner is formally charged with the murders of his parents.
Mark, this video is almost eerie to watch given what we know right now. Nick Reiner's escape ended the second this LA police cruiser rounded the corner and blocked him in on a sidewalk Sunday night. Zoomed in closer, you see officers hop out, guns drawn, and Reiner's hands instinctively shoot into the air.
He was investigative tools used by robbery, homicide, and gang and narcotic division detectives with the U.S. Marshal Service Task Force involved as well.
Surveillance cameras from an Exposition Park convenience store show Nick Reiner wandering into the parking lot Sunday night with a distinct gait, red backpack slung over one shoulder. Inside the store, Nick Reiner grabs a drink and gets in line, nervously shifting from foot to foot, head on a swivel. This man, who appears to be a law enforcement officer, enters the store. This is the moment Nick Reiner appears to stare face to face with that law enforcement officer, stutter-stepping and maneuvering to not so subtly avoid him. Minutes later, LAPD wrestled Nick Reiner into handcuffs.
Police say they located Nick 15 miles away from the Reiner home at a park near downtown Los Angeles. He was arrested, they say, without incident.
Yeah, those charges, 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance allegation of multiple murders. That elevates the severity of the crime and could lead to a sentence of life without parole or even potentially a death sentence. Nick Reiner missed an initial court appearance. That's because his attorney says they're still awaiting clearance on his medical condition.
He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife.
A decision on whether to seek a death sentence will be made sometime in the future.
In addition, we should talk about staging of crime scenes, were the bodies positioned of his parents.
Any evidence, if there is any, of mental illness for his background will be coming out in the hearings that will occur.
Was there any remorse where he tried to clean them up? Did he attempt to clean up the crime scene and alter the crime scene to hinder the investigation that would immediately follow with the discovery of his parents' bodies? This is yet to be determined, and we'll find out in future press releases, I hope, as the case progresses.
So far, police have not said specifically what led them to suspect Nick or what they found when he was arrested. Nick Reiner is now being represented by defense attorney Alan Jackson, who said today's scheduled court hearing was delayed because of Reiner's medical condition.
Every single inmate goes through a medical clearance before they can be transported to court. Every one of them. Okay. And that's a process. It's just a procedural issue. And he has not yet been medically cleared, so he will be here hopefully tomorrow.
Behind me, the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in downtown Los Angeles. That is where Nick Reiner is currently being held without bail for suspicion of murdering his parents. He is also reportedly under suicide watch. Now,
this group of people that's here now follows another unexpected visitor here, and that was defense attorney Alan Jackson. I want to take you to some video because Jackson, he's representing Nick Reiner. As Eric Leonard mentioned just after noon today, he showed up along with a group of people at the Reiner home. Shortly after they arrived, they made their way inside, but before he entered, I attempted to ask Jackson what he was doing.
Mr. Jackson, anything you can tell us about why you're here today?
He did not answer any questions. The group spent about 40 minutes at the home before they left.
Now, Nick was scheduled to appear in court, but according to his attorney, he couldn't be transported yet because he hasn't been medically cleared. So what does it mean that Nick wasn't medically cleared for transport? Well, usually after an evaluation, the staff determines that this person is not stable enough to be moved, and it's because of one of 3 reasons: physical injury, illness, or a mental health evaluation. We were not told which one applies in this case. As for Nick's struggles with addiction, this now viral resurfaced clip gives us a little insight into how his famous parents tried to help him.
I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have parents that care about me.
Nick, who has said he went to rehab 17 times, bonded with his dad while they worked together on the movie Being Charlie, which was loosely based on Nick's troubled life.
When I would go out and do, things like drugs and stuff like that, I'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt. But some people don't have parents that are, have any interest in them.
Reiner in a downtown Los Angeles courtroom 3 days after police say he murdered his parents.
A judge ruled this morning that cameras would not be allowed in the courtroom, but this was the first time that the press caught a glimpse of Nick Reiner since he was arrested for the murders of his parents.
Wearing a blue anti-suicide vest, 32-year-old Nick Reiner barely spoke at his first court appearance and did not enter a plea, only giving the okay to push back his arraignment to January. Nick faces 2 counts of first-degree murder. Nick's attorney, Alan Jackson, spoke outside the courthouse.
I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date, and that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then. Happy New Year.
Nick Reiner's siblings were not in court today, but his older brother Jake and younger sister Romy released a joint statement. It reads, "Words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing every moment of the day. The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents. They were our best friends."
On behalf of CrimeTime with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the surviving family members. That's what this is all about. Ed, you always got something else to say at the end of these things. It's over to you, Mr. Wallace.
I want you all to have a great evening, day, night, whatever the case may be where you are around the world. But always stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen, and good night from New York. We'll see you soon.